having watched this process for quite some time, I mean, it seems like at the end of the day, the thing that always holds up the appropriation bills are, specific political hot button issues. I mean, does this make a case for, and this has been tossed around before. I mean, if you don't pass the appropriation bills, you face a government shutdown. And various members have proposed, well, if we were to do an automatic continuing resolution, we could fund the government wouldn't shut down, and then we could fight over the policy writers. And it seems that the response is always, well, if you did an automatic CR, you might get stuck, and then that's the government would be permanently funded at last year's level forever. And I guess my thinking on that though is Congress always wants more money for something. And so it seems to me, even if you permanently funded the entire government at last year's level, to the extent you go forward and you want to adjust this program or that program, there's always going to be enough momentum to say we got to come back and do a supplemental or an emergency appropriation or something. And it would give Congress the opportunity to plus up the accounts that it wanted to, but it would avoid the dilemma of shutting down the whole government. I mean, is there some merit to that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm with you. It's similar arguments that, Steve and Tori, that I've made over the last many years to do. Let's go to 2-year budgeting and appropriation. Let's appropriate for 2 years. And I always get the argument, well, but things happen. Well, sure they happen, and you can adjust. In the state of Virginia right now, we're going through a budget battle here in the state of Virginia, and they have something which I kind of like the term. They have a caboose budget, which is an adjustment to the current year. You can do this. Come on, you don't have to. You can have a continuing resolution, and if there's an issue where we need additional funding, there will be. There'll be the opportunity there. I guess for your listeners, and I don't need to tell the two of you, certainly, or even Bob. I am always so struck that we're arguing about what 30% of the federal budget, and even more realistically, we're only talking about 15% of the federal budget because most of the fights are in the non-defense area. We're spending too much time on this segment of the federal budget when we ought to be focusing on that other 70% or 50% if you take out interest on the public debt. And that's what bothers me. All this discussion, people thinking that we're making great progress. We're not making progress. And what really bothers me, and that's the accumulation of the overall debt, and that's spending from non-appropriated accounts.
And one of the things that is just striking from the last CBO report is the role of net interest. By next year, reaching a record level as a percentage of the economy and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're right, we're just diddling around the edges here, even with these things, and not even being successful at dithering around the edges.